So if you had an apartment with one of use one, it's smart. The electric is great. But we put it in the middle of the house and it takes say 60 seconds to get the power to the sinks. That means a ton of electricity. I'm
All right, thank you everyone. A couple housekeeping notes here. We do have the bathrooms right on the corner. We are recording this meeting. We're going to try to distribute it tomorrow for people that can't attend. That way, if people are still interested, they'll get the slides. They'll be able to participate in the group buy tomorrow. So that is a note. And then if you food or drink, there are QR codes on all your tables. That'll get you food. Otherwise, you can order up at the bar. So thank you so much for coming out this evening. My name is Marshall Claveau. I'm with Great Lakes Renewable Energy Association, our slide board. Well, this is Solarize Grand Rapids' first meeting today, so give ourselves a round of applause. Turn around. Thank you to Christoph at the city. Michigan Saves, Bob's up here. If people got questions about financing. It's really helpful that the city of Grand Rapids is so supportive of this effort. I run the program statewide. We'll go into more of those details here, but city of Grand Rapids really strong commitments to follow the state's strong commitments. And so it's a great time to take over your own power. So again, my name is Marshall Claveau. Here's my contact information. I serve as the project director of Michigan Solar Communities, working with local units of government across the state of Michigan. To not only establish sustainability action plans, but organized community like this to get a group buy for Solarize. We've had very successful programs in Kalamazoo, East Lansing, Livonia, Royal Oak, Detroit, trying to get stuff off the ground in Holland, you name it, Mount Pleasant, and UP is on deck as well. So first up here, I'm going to welcome Nancy Morales, local county commissioner, District 20. Thank you, Nancy, for all your great work.
Thank you, Marshall, for that great introduction. My name is Nancy. I use she, her pronouns. As Marshall mentioned, I am the county commissioner for District 20. My day job is also in climate justice organizing, so all this is kind of like my general wheelhouse. So last November, not this 2024, but 2023 one, I was able to install solar panels onto the roof of my house. Which is really exciting. And the reason why I did that is because, I'm working in energy justice and trying to challenge, investor-owned utilities and the fact that they're always increasing these rates and not committing to clean energy standards like the way we need them to and want them to. So my main reason for wanting to get solar panels was to give less of my hard-earned cash to these companies. Some of the pros for making that switch was obviously reduce energy costs. My solar array actually covers between 80 to 90% of my energy usage, which is really great. That means I have a really tiny energy bill every month. Another nice thing is that, as you all know, energy use fluctuates. So even though with rate increases and things like that, energy utility costs are going to keep going, getting higher and higher as we go on. I finance the solar panels because I don't have 30 grand just sitting around. So because my payment is just set for, the next 25 years, I know that despite the fact that, utility costs may keep increasing, my payment stays static and, it's one less thing for me to worry about as time goes on. So those are some of the main pros for me. Something that I think I had a little bit of a challenge personally navigating is the tax rebates and all those other incentives. We know we had a lot of money coming down from the IRA, but those pockets of money kind of lie in different places. And even though I am trying to stay informed on how to do a lot of these things, I still had a little bit of a challenge navigating how to get some of those incentives to pay back. But now that I know you, it'll be a little bit more helpful. And then obviously for some folks that upfront cost might be a bit of a challenge. You don't need to do a down payment or anything, but obviously it's a hit on your credit score and things like that. So overall though, super happy with the solar panels and highly recommend y'all looking into it. Thank you, Marcia.
Thank you, Nancy. And we do have 2 more seats up here. If people in the back want to find a seat closer to the front, We have a couple of sitting room up here. So a little bit more about Great Lakes Renewable Energy Association. We've been a 30-year nonprofit working in the space of educating, advocating, and implementing. GLRA is one of the older groups in the state of Michigan that's been doing this work. Membership based, so if you're a business, individual, reasonable membership fee, sign up. Tons of great resources. Our YouTube is a treasure trove of experts and information. Every Thursday we do what is called a solar story. So whether it's talking about someone's system, a battery, how my city can get involved, you'll find whatever you're looking for on our YouTube. A really great resource. And before I go too much further, I want to introduce Terry Gates, who's going to give a quick bit about how you can get involved locally in environmental action as well.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm the executive director of Healthy Planet Strategies, and I'm one of the organizers of this event. I'm very glad to see the turnout that we have. I want to recognize Annabelle Wilkerson here, who's with the Grand Rapids City Office of Sustainability, the new director. And she's going to oversee the new CAP, Climate Action and Adaptation Plan, that has been it's been finalized now almost, and it may come into effect in April. And there's how many action items on there? 160, 195 action items. And so that's why I wanted to say a few things to you, because there's a lot of new things that are happening in a new director, a new plan, and we have created a Kent County Environmental Action Team. So the Grand Rapids plan covers Grand Rapids, but we need to extend this to Kent County. So I'm pushing Kent County to step up, and I'm going to send around a sign-up sheet. There's a lot of places for people to plug into Teams, to help. So if you're out here because you're interested in solar on your rooftop, but there's a lot of other opportunities for you to get involved to help promote renewable energy in Grand Rapids. And we all know that it's got to be local. We can't wait for the federal government to help us. We have to step up, and if we collectively get together and start to engage with each other, we can get a lot of stuff done. So let's just try, we got a good showing here, a lot of people interested. I'm going to send around a clipboard. If you're interested in being a part of a committee somehow, working with the Grand Rapids Climate Coalition, working with other groups, we're going to try to get everybody working together in the right direction.
Thank you so much, Terry. I've been in the energy world a little while now, and this is one of the better breakdowns of where we're at, where we need to go. These slides will be sent, so it's kind of small from afar, but you see at the very top, this yellow is solar. This is Michigan's energy consumption in 2021, really hasn't changed that much. Our numbers are only going to get bigger. You can see all these other areas of fossil fuels. It's a big challenge, but that's why taking your energy off the grid, owning your own power is a huge first step in an equitable energy transition. In the Michigan Solar Communities Guidebook, I'm going to go through these slides pretty quick. You'll get them later on. It's more important to hear from Mike about his solar story and from Adam of Absolute Solar, one of the best companies in the state. So I'm really glad that they're able to do us well tonight. Michigan Solar Communities Guidebook. One of my jobs is to distribute this guidebook to local elected officials, local communities. This was a resource that took 4 years in the making. You can find it at our website, glra.org. The next slide will have a QR code as well. It's a great resource. Any sort of solar project you can envision under the sun is going to be highlighted, guided in this guidebook. So really encourage people to download this and distribute. If you are interested in a physical copy, I do have physical copies back at my home, so I can mail that your way. These are some of the active communities briefly highlighted on this. I'll be able to add Grand Rapids after tonight, which is very exciting. What is Solarize? Solarize is the community model. Neighbors come together. Think of the Tupperware party. When we come together, neighbors talking to each other, we can get discounts on bulk buying. It works for the installers. It works for the community. Ann Arbor has piloted this work. And 2 years ago, they came to GLRA and said, hey, you guys got to expand this statewide. We've installed over 500 homes in Ann Arbor. I think they're up to like 695 megawatts of energy, which You know, if you don't know anything about energy, it's a lot of energy, a lot of homes. And so it's just a great model, neighbor to neighbor, peer relationships. Solarize Grand Rapids. So very, very excited. The city has taken the step to hire Christoph as their first Michigan Healthy Climate Corps member. This is kind of a full circle moment for me. Back in 2018 with the Sunrise movement, I was one of the key leaders alongside my roommate, Will Lawrence, who's the co-founder, in establishing a national climate corps based on FDR's climate corps that made our national parks what they are today. So to now work with the Climate Corps, especially someone like Christoph, who's so dedicated, is really exciting, and we're lucky to have him. So thank you, Christoph.
Thank you, Marshall. And as you said, my name is Christoph Nieschwitz. I'm a Michigan Healthy Climate Corps member, working in the Office of Sustainability for Grand Rapids. Thank you. So I'll first go over a little introduction on how Grand Rapids is affected on climate change. We'll have increase in temperature, and from that, a lot of heat disparities that will affect personal health and just our well-being, and increased storm, which will increase the there will be drastic changes that the city has foreseen and will try to address. So the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan was formed to address these concerns through greenhouse gas reduction and other climate justice related initiatives. The plan is a community-wide, and as you can see, the city itself and the city operations are accountable for 2.2% of our emissions. The rest are from commercial and residential and production use. So that's why these Solarize opportunities are important to kind of address other areas of carbon emissions. And yeah, through Solarize, it increases the accessibility to solar from a residential standpoint. And it's also important to meet our community-based science targets focused on reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And because I saw a lot of questions about zoning, I'll just go over quick stuff currently about how the city is kind of operating now. The current zoning allows for solar on all facing sides, but with the south facing being obviously the most important here. If the panels are sorry, if the panels are not located on a street facing side, then sorry, I'll just go on the next side because I'm stuck on that one. Yeah, another big question I saw was on historic preservation. Again, it's mostly case by case dependent on kind of the contours and character of the individual houses. But yeah, I'll have these slides sent out for you to read them more in detail. And I'll pass it on to Mike.
Thank you, Christoph. So continuing the tradition now of complex last names you won't remember or be able to figure it out. I'm Mike Sarukian. Also, I live in Okemos, Meridian Township, so we were part of the Solarize thing there. Given Terry's comment about this is a beginning, I want to make another statement I wasn't going to make. I'm a professor of medicine at MSU. I'm also a clinical informaticist and work with organizations like the American Medical Informatics Association on climate health and informatics. So we're all here because it will help save us money, but saving the world is not a bad thing either. And healthcare is 10% of all carbon used in the United States, 10%. So if you can make an impact there in your community with health systems
that's gonna be a big deal. So I think I just hit a space bar. All right, perfect. So you'll see more of this, but this is my house in Okemos. You can see there's a ton of panels, and I'll tell you why about that in a minute, but no white, squares, nice black trim in the front. I'm also part of a homeowners association that approved this before it became a law that you can't keep people doing this. So that's cool. So let me just keep going. So, but I'm here as a homeowner, not as anything else otherwise. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the solar journey that we took. So we were interested in 2021, 2022 of doing solar. The picture that you see here, some of you may have the same PTSD experience from the ice storm of 2013. That started us on our journey, which started with a generator because 4 days locked out in the cold when it's 10 to 16 below was not going to happen again. But in that, we also wanted to move in the direction of helping with the climate that we were trying to adjust to. So when it was time to replace our gas furnace, we got a geothermal electric furnace. That was fabulous, except if you look to see what Consumers Energy charges for that, you won't be as happy that you did it unless you also can do some of your other goals, including solar. We didn't want to rely on the grid. We lost power. We wanted to be able to use solar if we could, and if we couldn't, we wanted to be able to use other sources. Of course, we wanted to take advantage of the 30% tax credit, and I'm not a tax person, but I do my own taxes. And if you have something like Quicken, it's super easy to get through that and do it. And if you have a tax helper professional, they can certainly do it. So for us, it was easy. It all went through the first time around, no problem. But again, in the end, we wanted to get as far off the grid as we could with the home that we lived in. So our first go at this in 2021 resulted in fraud. That we were essentially ghosted by a company that was starting to implement for us, and as soon as we had everything ready to go, they kept. We got it all back. You can imagine now why in 2022 I looked at every company in the Meridian area that was associated with the Solarize project. And at the end of all of that, we chose Absolute Solar. So I'm just a regular customer like everybody else, but I've done a lot of research to determine who would be best. And some of it is quality and cost in that. Some of it's the flexibility around trying to adapt to your needs. And we had a little bit of special needs because we don't have a good south-facing situation, but we have a great solar system. And we wanted to do other things like capture some energy that we could use after the sun went down. So you'll see, therefore, that's why we have solar. We have a battery storage in the basement. So if you're potentially interested in that, we can talk a little bit more afterwards as well, but I'll show you. We have an EV charger in the garage because one of our 2 cars is an EV. The other is the hybrid. And we wanted to link to this generator that we bought, but what we wanted to do is to make it essentially medical quality, which means if you lose power, you don't wait 10 seconds for the system to sense it and then maybe kick on and then give you your power back. This thing barely blinks the lights and you lose no power on anything. Solarize Meridian is the educational system we used and the discounts that went with that. The only thing that slowed us down was this thing called the Interconnect program from Consumers Energy. I don't know what your situation would be here, but the actual installation to go live is so hopefully that'll be a barrier that you don't see is this whole process of connecting with your electric utility, because remember, sometimes you'll get power from the sun and use it. Sometimes if you have batteries like I do, you'll store it. And then whenever there's excess, you'll send it back to that utility. And that's where that interconnect capability starts to become important. So our system today, you saw all the panels. This is true north. Our panels are all on the east-southeast side. So it's why it took us more panels than it would probably take you if you have any kind of a decent south or west exposure. That's okay. It worked out for us anyway, and you'll still see the return on investment for us in a few slides. But we also have a large capacity, right? 15 kilowatt, that's a lot of power. geothermal system again in the winter or in the summer. Our batteries, if you're interested, if you're a chemist, lithium iron phosphate, these are the kinds that don't blow up or burn or things like that, right? They're heavier, but they're just sitting in my basement anyway, so no big problem. We have an EV charger. If you're in the market for them, you want a level 2, you don't want a level 1 because it'll take forever to charge. A level 2 takes 240 volts. Plug it in your system and you're good to go. Ours is hardwired in our garage. We have this instant smart connection, as I mentioned, to our home generator. That complicated things a little bit, but with solar, just shrugged their shoulders and went, "Yep, our electrician can do this. We found a way to make it work. We found the right equipment to do that." So in our world now, if we lose power, I kind of have to notice that the rest of the street has gone out because I can't really tell. If I blinked at the wrong time, that little blip in our system is not even noticeable. But it starts with solar if the sun is up. In our system, it counts on the battery next. If there's any charge in the batteries, sun isn't shining or cloudy or nighttime, obviously, it'll go to the battery. And then if the battery gets to the low threshold, the generator will kick in to recharge the battery and to give you power. We also more recently went from a gas water heater to an electric heat pump water heater, which is many more times more efficient and is essentially completely. That's our system. So talking about going all in, right? So we went all in on pretty much everything you could do except wind. So if solar goes to wind, we'll talk. So there's that southeast. You can imagine we get great sun in the morning and then fades off during the day. You can see the trees behind it. Here's the backup generator. Here's the engine in the basement, right? So there's the inverter, the thing that turns DC on the roof into AC for the house. It feeds the battery, and it's a stack of batteries that I could double if I want to 8 of those. Here's the EV charger in the garage. Here's that heat pump water heater, along with the second passive water heater that just takes extra heat from the geothermal system. So that's what it looks like. This is how it looks if you're looking at the app. So this is the morning on a day in May. We got May 15th or 13th of last year. In the morning, it's recharging the battery. So this is a solar panel. It's generating about 10,000 watts at the moment, right? Because the battery isn't full, it's charging the battery, but it's taking essentially nothing from the grid. 56 watts just to keep the lights on from the flow. This is the house isn't using much at that time in that morning. As the late morning approaches, the sun is higher. So you can see it's now almost at its full 15 kilowatt energy. It's sending 11 kilowatts to the grid, which means I'm getting a credit for all of that electricity that's going back that I can use later in the year if I need to. And the battery is completely charged. The house is using whatever it's using. So this is how it looks on a 24-hour period for that day. The green means this is the amount of photovoltaic UV energy coming from the sun. Okay. This is the amount in yellow going back to the grid. So a lot of this is going to that. The purple stuff is what's feeding the battery. So this charges the battery, and this is the battery being used at night. And here's the battery discharging in the nighttime. And then morning comes, it charges up to 100%. It starts coming back down again. So that's pretty much. All right. This is looking year to year. How has this gone? We installed it in December of 2022, so you're not going to really see anything. So this is the first year of use. We activated the battery about mid-year, and this is the total load on the house. There's the total energy that is needed to be used wherever it came from. So you can see about the same, maybe a little bit less in 2024 than 2023. The amount of photovoltaic energy, a little sunnier in Okemos, apparently, in that second year. The amount we exported was about the same. The amount we imported was less in 2024, even though we by then had an electric car and this gas heater had been replaced by the electric one. Okay. And then you can see as the year went on, the battery charging and discharging. So if you look at the scale, this is 3,000 kilowatts. That would be 3 megawatts of energy that we were able to use instead of paying for somewhere else. Okay. And so if we, I think the next slide shows, yes, what we've done since we've owned it. So in the 2 years that we've owned it, we've generated solar energy at 32, almost 33 megawatts of energy. Okay, so if you're trying to make a difference in the world and save money while you're at it, that's a lot of energy just coming from the side of the room. So if you have a better, you're great. Electric costs versus the previous year. Current costs. So this is for the year ending last January. This is for the year ending this January. So I'm sorry for the magnification, but in order to get the same number, essentially, I had to shrink this one down because we just used that much less. So in the previous year, from 2023, that's the gray, and then in the year where the solar was activated, you can see how it's definitely less month to month to month. And then in 2024, when everything was fully up and working the whole year, you can see almost no cost. And in fact, I think what you'll see, and I think it might be my last slide or close. This is the base year. So what we paid for electricity in our base year was basically $3,500 for that year for electricity. In 2023, we were about half of that. So we had some return on investment of about $1,800. By 2024, with everything fully up and operating, including battery and so on and so forth, even with an EV, even with that water heater, we actually didn't pay anything for electricity in net. We had a negative amount that then applied this horrible January and February we just had. So we'll pay a little bit more this year because it's been such a rocky start for it. And at least in Oakland, when it was sunny, the roof has been mostly covered with snow to a depth that doesn't work. That should end again soon, maybe this weekend. But at the end of the day, in the 2 years and 1 month that it's been active, just for the electrical part, leaving out all the other stuff with gas savings and the like, whatever, for the electric bill savings, it's $5,300. So when you start to think about what we save you and how long it would take you to get to your return on investment, it may be a little different. But for us, the solar payback period is going to be about 10 years. So like I said, we're in year 3. Gasoline savings for EVs are relevant for those of you with EVs. The heat pump water heater savings are there. And for the most part, we use our solar plant instead of either gas, because our gas, we do still have natural gas, but it's essentially negligible because we're using our solar plant. So with that, I think we're ready to turn to Adam. So thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I can go into all that fun stuff right now. So thank you everyone for being a part of this. I'll try to get to the fun stuff now. My name is Adam, as you can see there and here in real life. Let's talk about Absolute Solar. So the GLREA, City of Grand Rapids, Dr. Z, Mike Zarukian, they worked with our company and they found us as a contractor who works for the greater good for the people who want solar on their home. So it's exciting for us because, we want to be a part of this community now too. We're born and bred in Lansing, Michigan. If I can get through this. Yeah, there it is. So the owners of our company, they actually met while they were studying in law school at MSU. They were both studying environmental law. They were trying to change the policy from the top down, realized DTE, consumers energy, they got pretty deep pockets, pretty hard pill to swallow making those changes. So they founded this company with that goal in mind to really try to get boots on the ground, create a grassroots movement where people can really learn about how to, not only educate themselves on how to become energy independent, but, be better overall. So the company was founded in 2016. I'll go over this quick because again, you'll have all these slides. But we're locally owned and operated right here in Michigan, which is awesome. Everyone on our team is licensed, bonded, insured. You know, we have a master electrician on staff. So it's an important thing for you guys when we're tying into all of your electrical panels and everything that you have somebody who knows what they're doing. And we don't subcontract. That's a big thing. You know, a lot of people, I don't know if you've looked at solar in the past or where you're at with the process, but a lot of contractors do, unfortunately, hire Joe Blow down the street and they don't have somebody who's certified or insured on that roof. A lot of the times, if that's the case, then warranties can become a problem. And that becomes a bigger issue down the road if you ever did need service, which is a big part of what we do. We turnkey from the beginning of here we are today to that final installation. And also, the big thing that I'll tell you about too is that we monitor and we service all of our systems. For all of our clients that we've ever installed, we have a system actually inside of the way that the systems work. They're all connected to the internet, Wi-Fi, and things, and we have access to seeing if a system isn't working. And so our company gets automatically notified if there's ever an issue. Again, the goal is for the system not to have a problem with it, but sometimes we get alerts like, you know, if there's snow coverage on the panels and it's not producing like it should. We'll get those kind of notifications. Those are things that we can help all of our clients out with, and we do. So it's an important thing that you guys know. It's peace of mind. We're looking at all that stuff all the time. We get automatic alerts as well if that ever comes up. So it's something we can help you out with in the long run.
This is rare. Not very many solar companies have that monitoring available. So this is really, it's one of the perks of Absolute. I work with companies all over the state. There are a lot of good companies, but that monitoring and service is a big deal. That Absolute really goes above and beyond. So I'll plug that for sure.
Thanks, Marshall. Yeah, I mean, we really look at once the system is installed is the beginning of our relationship, not the end. You know, we really want to make sure you understand it on the front end, but also on the back end, making sure that you're comfortable with everything for the lifetime of that system. So I'll go over these again quickly, just because I know you guys have been here already a decent amount of time. I want to try to get through this quick, but for all of you that are homeowners and pay taxes, you will be able to receive a 30% federal tax credit via the IRA. So that is something that is not going away for anyone who is concerned about that. But that is something that applies 30% of the total project cost, and it reduces its tax liability essentially. So check with your CPA. Like Mike said, you can go through QuickBooks. I sent my solar contractors. I can talk about me too. I put solar on my house a couple years ago and sent the solar contract to my CPA. He knew what the total cost was. He applied 30% of that. It reduced my tax liability. And so what that does is it essentially takes 30% of whatever the solar system costs and it reduces it by that. It's a huge savings, which is something that's going to be available to any homeowner. And so I will tell you too, and yes. So it rolls over. I can talk about that, and I will say too, I'll try to answer as many questions as I can after the fact. You know, we'll just let them come as they go. But for the solar system itself, it is a one-time thing. But if you were to expand on your solar system, which we do for a lot of folks, like let's say you get an EV down the road and you need more panels, a secondary solar system, you can also claim a tax credit. It just can't be claimed again on the same system. But so you can get it 30% on the total cost of whatever system you get, or secondary system if you need more down the road. And it does roll over too. So if your tax liability isn't enough to capitalize on that 30% in year one, it rolls over till you do use it up. So that's just good to know. And it applies to batteries, EV chargers, electrical upgrades as well. So that's really important to know. The IRA was a big part in that. Before the IRA was passed, basically you had to get solar and batteries in order to claim 30% on the batteries as well. So now you can claim 30% on a total cost of a battery with that same tax credit. I put an electrical upgrade on my house. I have my house is built in the 60s. It had a 100-amp panel in it. Well, my electrician, our guy was like, yeah, we could maybe make some space, combine some breakers. But if you just upgrade this thing, if you're ever going to change anything else out in your house, like if you need like an electric vehicle, hot tub, you name it, he's like, we might as well upgrade this thing. And that's something that ended up being a bonus on my house. Helps build the home's value. It's a safer product. And 30% off, so you can't really beat that. So we've talked a little bit about bill credits and how this works. So Consumers Energy, which I assume most of you guys are on that grid in the Grand Rapids area, they have what's called distributed generation, and that's basically the fancy term for the excess energy that the solar system creates, what it gives you when your home doesn't need that excess energy. So what happens is the solar system is producing energy during the day and it feeds into your house. And then any excess, anything that your home doesn't need in that moment, basically gets backfed out to the grid. And so that's what's called distributed generation. And the way that it works is essentially you get credited on that amount of excess energy. The unfortunate news is they don't give you that perfect 1-to-1 ratio of like, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. We know that, but that's the thing about what they call it now. It's a fluctuating rate depending on the time of use. You guys have all probably seen your bills of like on peak, off peak. There's different fluctuating times of how you get credited, but you do actually still receive a credit from the utility company in order to, for you, if you did have a solar system that was sized up enough to overproduce in certain moments. So the way it works with when we go to put solar on someone's house, we have to go through what Mike was talking about with interconnection. It's an application that we have to put in for every business owner, homeowner, you name it, going solar. We have to do that, and we do all this on your behalf, by the way. You don't have to lift a finger. But we have to do permits and all this. So the interconnection application basically is they figure out how much energy did you use last year, and they look at the bill, and they look at the kilowatt hours every month. They calculate it all up, and they have a fancy equation that says, all right, you are eligible for up to 110% of what that total is based on energy production. And it's based on an equation that they came up with. It's not a simple math equation, unfortunately. But we know what it is, so it's something we can do for you. We can figure out what you want, and that's what we try to do is figure out, do you want to maximize your offset? Do you want to try to find one that's in that happy medium? You know, sometimes a 70 or 80% electrical offset is better for the return on investment because, again, you're not spending as much to do it. You're not sending as much energy out to the grid, and you're getting more value out of the energy in your home in real time. So it depends on what your ultimate goals are, and that's why we're trying to figure that out. And like I said, we figured all that out. We will submit the paperwork on the behalf. And with financing, this is another thing I can talk about from a personal level. I put solar on my house a couple years ago. As you can probably see, I'm still paying off student loans, so I didn't have a bunch of money saved up to put solar on my house. So I had to go through Michigan Saves, which is a fantastic option. Again, he can talk to you about that. I can as well. I went through Michigan Saves to put solar on my house, and it ended up being a low monthly plan. It was a 10-year plan too. It wasn't 25. It wasn't a long-term plan. It was something that allowed me to put solar on my house without having to, be burdened by the overall expenditure. But again, with financing, you can do it in a host of ways. You don't have to finance, of course. Cash is king. If you have it, that's fantastic. When we send out quotes, we always show the difference between if you paid for it in cash or if you did have to finance, because with lenders, there is associated fees for those. We're not hiding behind the ball. A lot of solar contractors don't tell you that there's differences with those things, but we're going to show you that there's options. Like if you want to pay cash, it's a better price, ultimately. You can do a HELOC, home improvement loans. Those are just up to you guys, how you guys determine you want to finance it or not. And I'll just briefly go through Michigan Safe stuff, but they are fantastic. It's a nonprofit, Green Bank, the nation's first. They've been around for a long time, and they do provide loans for a lot of projects, not just renewable energy, but majority of the things that we deal with is solar, battery, EV chargers, and the things of the like. But they do a lot of work for home improvement projects, and they work specifically with Michigan credit unions. So that's the thing that's really great about them is they work and they have competitive interest rates to find which one makes the most sense for you. And that's what I went with Lake Michigan Credit Union. That's one of them. But yeah, and they require, it's like a 3-year vetting program for contractors to, Michigan Saves wants to verify that the people that are offered this opportunity, in which, any of you guys wanting to get a quote, you can go through us, and then we have a contractor code that you can put in, and it gives you that option to go through this option. Essentially, what they do is it's a 3-year vetting program to make sure the contractor's not fly by night. We're going to be here for you, and they want that too. So I've already kind of talked about this, but it's an unsecured home improvement loan. They don't have any prepayment penalties either, which is huge. So once you claim your tax credit, or if you wanted to pay a lump sum, it helps you guys out with the payments on that, and so you don't have to take it to, the final terms. Michigan Saves, yay. So
They do Windows too. They do Windows too.
They do all sorts of things. Yeah, so it's not just, like I said, it's not just solar. They have a lot of things they do with homes, but I know we've talked a lot about, solar systems, and what we are installing for homeowners is a grid connected solar system. We don't really go off grid. I know everyone wants to, and ultimately that's our goal for everybody, to hopefully get them off that monopoly. But for the most part, most people are going to be having a grid connected system when we go through consumers, because legally you have to go through that channel of, permitting the stages, building inspections, electrical. We have to do all that, and we do that for you. But it's a good connected system, and the way it works is basically when the sun is shining on this panel, it's going to connect to an inverter, and that inverter is either going to go into your house, feed this battery, or it's going to be sent out to the grid if there's any excess generation being created by the solar system. The panels that we work with primarily right now, there's a handful of them out there, so it's not just one that we use, but Silfab is a fantastic brand. We love them because they're exclusively US made, and we love that. It's close to home. It helps them because, they're a way more eco-friendly product than a lot of panels that we see out there coming from, God knows where, makes that low embedded carbon footprint a big deal. So that's something, obviously, probably the most important thing in our company is like the carbon, the footprint, the big picture. So we like this brand a lot. Again, not to say that we're exclusive to them, but we like them. They have an industry-leading 30-year warranty as well. Most panels will have a 25-year warranty. You'll see that. Having that extra 5 years is a really standout thing. And I can talk more about that in detail when we do any customized quotes for you. But very briefly, again, I'll just go over like what systems entail, like how does it all go together? Like I kind of showed you in the grid connected system, you're going to have an inverter. That's basically the computer. It's the brains of the operation. It's telling you where the energy is going. And that we offer, two different options, basically a micro inverter or a central inverter. We can go into the weeds on that, but it's basically 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other for the energy to be transferred into the home. And then the racking system is basically how does it adhere, either ground mount if you have a nice open yard space, or adhere to your roof. With racking systems, they all have 25-year warranties on them. They're US made as well. So it's a fantastic opportunity for those things. And we'll go over all that more in more detail. So let's get into the stuff that you guys probably want to know the most about, is like how it works, the pricing, the whole thing. So just for being here and just for wanting to get a quote, and of course, we'll send you guys an email at the end of this. And if you did want to get a quote, just let us know. We'll be happy to get all that going for you. But for anybody who wants to be a part of this Solarize Grand Rapids pilot program, you're automatically going to get 5% of a discount from the market rate of what a solar system would cost you if we just came out here right now. And so the way the Solarize program works, though, is like the more people that are involved, and of course, we have a beautiful room here, so it's going to be hopefully a great turnout and help everybody out. It incentivizes people to, because it increases the discount the more people who sign up. So it's automatically 5. And then if out of however many people are here, if only 6 of you sign up, everybody in that group gets 6% off, and it goes all the way up to 15. So that's the beautiful thing. It's like the more people, the more homeowners who want to put solar onto their house, gives you guys an added incentive to do so. And so what that does, it can, outside of the discount you can receive plus the tax credit, it can be a 45% discount up to, and that's pretty massive as far as how that all can work out in the end. I just have an example based system. I mean, 5 kilowatts is much smaller than Mike's. His was 15. You saw the 45 panels. My house, I have 12 panels, which is about 5 kilowatts actually. So, you can kind of see the differences based on the energy needs in the home. For me, it's just, I got a 1,500 square foot, kind of bi-level, nothing too fancy. It's just me, my wife, and a little dog. I don't have geothermal and, all that extra stuff, which again, you don't need to go all in with this stuff. That's the beautiful thing. You don't need to do batteries and EVs and everything else to do it. Solar can be its all. But anyways, the way the pricing works out, we look at the market rate for what the pricing is going to be in the area based on the system size, right? So this is a reference for, if it was a 5 kilowatt system, we'd be in this range for pricing. And the way it works, it's simple math, essentially. It's like 5% off for everybody, going into it. It's going to be up to 15, the more who sign up by the deadline. And so that's kind of the way it's going to work. And you can see how that breaks down and saves you guys quite a bit over time. Again, these slides will be available to you. But these are some examples, just so you can kind of see what they look like. Again, they'll be available to you. We can do ground mounts, roof mounts. This one has a really nice sleek trim to it. You can do all different types of solar systems. So the timeline is the big thing that we're in now. Trying to figure out, like, what is the next step? How do we move forward? What do we do? So here we are today, February 20th. This is the first step in the equation. The next step is really we have a week from here until whenever you guys want to tell us if you want to move forward or not. You got a week to tell us, just so we can kind of get our ducks in a row and understand how many people do we need to come out and either do site visits for, or if we can receive your electric bill, that's really the main thing we need. And then we can get that quote prepared for you. So we need at least a week to determine if you guys want to look at getting a quote. And then from there, we have a step 3 is essentially 2 weeks, and we put a little asterisk around it just because obviously there's a large group here. The more people that want to get involved, that's great. It might be 3 weeks, might be 4, because we want to make sure we're preparing all of these quotes accurately. We want to come out here and do site visits. I'll probably be the person you see at your home. We can talk about anything you want, as customizing your quote to make sure it's going to fit exactly what your home needs. And so give us probably 3 weeks for that. And then we're going to look at that. We'll review it. This gives you guys another couple weeks to look at, if you need to check with financing or how you want to ask us questions. We're happy to dive into it and figure out what the best situation is for you. We know we don't like to put timing and deadlines on solar because it's a long-term investment strategy. But we know with these solar groups, they do have to be on a time scale just to kind of help everybody out in that same window. But yeah, you get a couple more weeks to kind of look at it, review it, discuss your options. And then that deadline is technically right now, it's at the end of March. We're looking at, this is when the deadline for the people who get quotes. Do you want to move forward? All right, great. Sign on the dotted line. We're ready to move forward. And that'll help everybody out so then they can receive however much that final discount tally is by the deadline. Again, that deadline may change depending on the amount of participants. And then that final step is just getting everybody their final contract, because you can sign it. And then, once the deadline comes, we'll send you an updated contract. So it says, all right, you started with 5 and now you're at 14 or 13 or 15, hopefully, as far as the discount go, it'll grow for you. So that's kind of the way that the steps work in that process.
And I'll say, Adam came out to my house actually and did a quote I live in a 10-person home, big cooperative house in Lansing. And they have great technology that will show, it's amazing. They'll show the trees that I didn't even know they could see. It'll show which panels get how much energy. So they have great technology and it lays it all out for you. You'll be really impressed with the free quote.
Yeah, it's all free. We're happy to come out and do it. We do LiDAR detection software. It really helps us indicate where the trees are at, how tall your building is, the orientation, everything. We'll take a look at all that. But really the first step, I guess, in the equation is the only thing we really need is the bill, because that's going to tell us how much energy your house is using. And from there, we can figure out, all right, this is how big of a solar system you could get. And you can always, again, scale back if you want. But that's the first step, is just getting that utility bill. The front and back of that is going to be helpful because, this is going to show us your kilowatt hours month by month. Consumers Energy has that graph, which is very important. We'll want to see all that. But even on the back side of the bills, those are important too, because it tells us the rate schedule that you're on, because everyone's rate is a little bit different. Some people are on super on peak, super off peak, senior rates. There's different rates. And so that structure can help us figure out how your quote is going to work and how that looks long term. Because when we do send you a quote, we do a 25-year spreadsheet of how that money shakes out over time. And so it tells you what the return on investment is. It tells you how much money you end up making or saving over the course of that 25 years too. So it's fantastic. So you'll be able to see that, and having the bill is indicative of making sure that that's going to be done right. So that's kind of the main thing. We're happy to do, like I said, a site visit on your property. The only other thing too is if you wanted to, if you don't need to come out, the main thing we need is the bill. And if you were to want to quote, the only other thing we need essentially is to have a picture of the electric panel and the meter outside. Those are the two other main things we would need, at least an image of. If it's enough information for us to at least get you a quote. If you don't need to have us come out, like I said, but we're happy to. So
Adam,
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Please.
Very important notification for everyone. Oh, the mic. And I'm not going to drop it. If you want to get something to eat or drink, there's a communication problem between this room and the toast system. If you want to get something to eat or drink, sorry to say, you need to go to the counter. What's that?
And we'll be following up with you tomorrow. Christoph is going to send a message outlining where you can send the bill, the link to Absolute's website to upload your electricity bill, the meter, and all that. So that'll be in your emails by tomorrow. And if you haven't signed up yet, there are some sign-in sheets floating around, and we're going to get to questions in just a minute.
Yeah, no, I think we're actually ready for that. If anybody has just any questions at all, happy to field those, and anybody else can help too. But I think I saw your hand up in the back there. And yeah, we can get you
Good hand mic so people can really
hear people. Yeah. Is it on? Is there a distance?
right. I think we're on. This was great. Thank you very much. So just because I always want the best deal I can get, I want to get 15 people. Does that include businesses? Is this the first of 2 meetings that's happening in Grand Rapids? I just want to make sure, like, if I'm going to do this, I'm like, I want 15 bodies. So, like, can I grab people who aren't in the room tonight? Can we get businesses? How do we do this? And are we understanding that the savings is basically because you're going to do some kind of big caravan of coming out here and doing all the install? There's a savings to you
Right.
based on what we're doing. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's an economy of scale, right? So the more people we can get out here, the better it is because we're going to have more people in this area at that one time. But to answer your question, it's for residential properties for this group specifically. We will be doing Solarize groups, and there will be others in the future for businesses, churches, nonprofits. We're working with schools right now too. So there's a lot of other opportunities for different programs, but this is specifically tied to residential. So I will tell you, just because our company has done, I don't know, 8 probably Solarize events in the last handful of years, and I think this is the biggest turnout we've ever seen. So congrats to you all for being here. You guys were fantastic. Yeah, so
you do have to be here tonight.
You don't. No. Yeah, so there's a handful of people that weren't able to attend, and so they're going to still be able to participate. And you can forward this to your neighbor, if you want to get more people involved.
Follow up to what she asked. Is the 5% automatic and then an additional up to 15%?
Yeah, up to 15. You start with 5 automatically. So when you receive the quote, you'll see it at a 5% discounted rate, and then it'll go up to 15. Yeah.
Let's try to get the mic there.
Yeah, sorry. I can just hear you.
Just, is the cost of a roof mount comparable to ground mount?
So, yes.
Question.
Yeah, so his question was, is a roof mount or a ground mount, which one's more cost effective, essentially? So it's hard to say. It really depends. For the most part, the roof on the front end is going to be more cost effective because there's just less material involved. Right? With the ground mount, we have to build a structure. We have to trench from wherever we're going back to your main line in the house. So it'll cost a little bit more on the front end for a ground mounted system, but there's no maintenance involved with that, so it can help with that in the long run.
What is a little bit?
It depends on the system size. I mean, it's hard to say. You'll probably spend an extra $1,000 or $2,000, maybe $3,000 on a ground mounted system just because of the material involved.
What about the structure of the house? The house is substantially older. I'd say it's kind of made out of scrap wood.
Yeah.
How does that assess if you're not looking at the structure?
Yeah, so we will. So before we get boots on the ground and install it, we have final inspections. We have to go through all the proper channels, engineering and everything to verify the roof's integrity. We get up in the attic. We're going to measure the rafters and all of that. So we do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, keep coming.
What if your shingles are old and you need a new roof pretty soon?
Sure. Yeah, no, that's pretty common. So, I mean, if you're within 3-5 years of needing a new roof, sometimes getting a roofer out, having them do an inspection and verifying how old is this roof and how much life is left in it is good to do because, this isn't the last time we're going to do a Solarize group or be in this area. So some folks that are in that last window, I think that mic is speaking back there, sir. There we go. Yeah, nice. So if your roof is in the last leg of its life, sometimes it's beneficial to do a roof before putting up a solar system. We can do it that way. Or, of course, putting a solar system up, we have also dealt with clients who have 5 years left or 6 years left, and they still want to get that solar system now to take advantage of a discount. We can still tear down the panels. The roofers can come out and put a new roof on, and we can put the panels back up. So that was what I meant by like a maintenance cost. For us, it's just labor for us to take down the panels and put the puzzle back together. We don't have to go through consumers and all the interconnection applications again, but we can do that for you. So even if it's on that window, that's something we can help out with either way.
Since I changed my roof out, I didn't change my roof out.
Just quiet.
Yeah. So I changed my roof out. It was not within 3 to 5 years, probably of the end. What you want to ask the real question is, what is the cost to have them taken off and put back on again if I do that? Because that'll be part of your rent.
Yeah, that's something we can figure out, depending on the system size. We usually charge like $200, $250 a panel to tear it down and put it back up. So that's a way to measure how much that may cost if you do need to change that anytime soon.
Following up on that question.
Sure.
I'm sort of curious to know if there's a benefit in which type of roof, shingle roof or standing seam metal roof that you can mount.
Sure. No, I mean, if you have a standing seam metal roof, that's technically preferable because then we can. Oh, if you need a new roof, yeah, looking in the future for sure. So that's what I recommend actually for a lot of folks if they are considering what's the best route for the next plan. A standing seam is great because then we can actually clamp onto the seams and not penetrate into the roof itself. The new shingled roof, however, those are going to last you 25, 30 years. The solar system as well, being a covering it, can usually help elongate the life of the roof when it does come to fruition. But technically, and you'll spend a little more on standing seam though too. So, but then again, that's the one and done thing. A little more. Yeah, you might double your expense on the roof, but anyway.
HOA, you said the HOA has a rule
Yeah.
that now they're not allowed to prohibit.
Right, so there's a Michigan law now that prohibits HOAs from interfering with the implementation of a solar system. They may weigh in on it, but they can't stop you. A historical zone is a special situation I'm not that familiar with, but you can see mine were facing the front of the street. And somebody asked, well, can you put it in the back? And I said, no. Okay.
Yeah, the moment
Now there's a law that would keep people from in HOAs from being able to do it.
100%. The moment that bill passed, we had, I think, 4 clients said, I was waiting for this moment. Can we now pursue it? Because now they knew they could do it without them kind of pigeonholing them. So we have already helped out some handful of families for that.
Question here and then over here.
Yeah.
If we have wanted to build a system that just we knew would not output at all, there'd be no export, and we had battery system, you still need that interconnection agreement?
Yeah. You still want to interconnect to the grid. Even if, that's a good question though, but technically speaking, yeah, if we're doing permits and all that stuff, and if you have that on your home, it's something you're going to want to be grid connected for.
If you wanted to do like a greenhouse style roof over a deck or something, do you have the clear ones?
Clear ones?
Clear solar panel.
Oh, no, not yet. It's a cool approach though. We've looked at that actually. It was a I forget where it was. It was in Detroit. It was a guy who was really curious about that because it's a cool idea and opportunity once it beckons, but we haven't done that yet. I know the technology is getting there where solar voltaics can be inside like window panes and things like that now too, which is cool. Still early phase, but not quite yet. Yeah.
What is your method for adhering the panels to a shingle roof? Are you using like roof tech blocks, or are you using, I can't think of the right term for a big bolt that goes through?
Yeah, it's a bolt. Yeah, so and then we have stud finders. We're gonna figure out where your rafters are. Iron Ridge is the brand.
Adam, repeat the question. That's why we got the mic.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it was kind of loud, but anyway, he was curious about the roof and how it gets attached to it, the system. So it's a racking system that basically bolts into the roof itself, and it adheres. And it's a patented technology. Actually, it has a 25-year sealant approval, but it's something that completely adheres it to the shingle, and it bolts it into the beams and the rafters as well. We have stud finders to find all that as well.
Is it working? Yeah, working. Good. For a solar install, can you do them on a detached structure like a garage that is not the main? And is there a limitation in distance from the main panel to that would make it prohibitive?
Not necessarily, no. I mean, we can look at your specific situation. I mean, I guess, depending on how far we're talking, there may be some limitations as far as like how the system communicates, but the system would still produce. We can go a mile down the road if we needed to, but the communication breakdown may happen in that regard. But for most people on their lot of land, yeah, we can do detached structures all the time.
You mentioned that the quotes would be accepted, or we would have to accept the quotes at the end of March. When do you expect the installs to start, and how long is that process?
Sure. Yeah, the install itself is probably the quickest part, because we can get up and do an installation in a couple of days, maybe a week, depending on how complicated the system is. But we're about 4, maybe 5 months out as far as when we can start the project, because we have to go through from right now. Yeah. So And that's kind of where, it's first come, first serve, but we have to go through all those channels. Like I said, the permitting, the interconnection, all that stuff. It's going to take 2 or 3 months just to get through those hoops, which we're happy to jump through for you. But just so you guys are in the loop on how long it may take to actually put solar on the house, that's pretty standard.
Can you speak to the lifetime of the panels and any stability or efficiency changes over time? And then what happens to the panels at the end of their life?
Sure. Yeah. So Silfab actually, this is another reason why we love them, and thank you for bringing that up. So Silfab has a recycling facility baked into their apparatus, so they will take the panels back and recycle them. So that makes their embedded carbon footprint even less than more manufacturers out there. But they come with a 25-year warranty and 30-year performance warranty. What they indicate in the 30th year, and I'll send out all these data sheets for you, but I think it's like 89%, I think, efficiency in year 30, which is state of the art. It's the top of the line. Tier 1 brand is what they call it in the solar world, but it's a very high efficiency. It's a solid state piece of equipment. Starts at like a 98% efficiency and then has a slow degradation period. And most of them, they'll be in like the 90s and the 20-ish year mark. This one has up to a 30-year warranty, which is great. So it gives you that metric. But yeah, they're going to be around a lot longer than 25 years.
Yeah, and even at year 30, they're not going to just stop working. So I've seen somewhere after year 30, you can expect maybe 1 or 2% degradation.
Yeah.
You guys connect the customers to the solar panel manufacturer for those recycling, or is that on the customer to at year 30, 35 years from now to deal with, connecting with this manufacturer and getting into the recycling center?
Yeah, we would probably handle that on your behalf. Anything dealing with the solar system, you want to involve the company and the contractor who's installed it. That goes for, in 25 years, if your home needs a new roof, get a hold of us so we can take the panels down. You don't want a roofer taking down solar panels. That's not ideal. Connected to the electric grid and in your home. You don't want things going boom. So we're happy to help in any regard for you name it. Yeah.
You speak about can you speak about the pros and cons of the string inverter versus microinverters?
So I will say too, string inverters now, we don't really do them anymore. And there's a reason why, because with string inverters, and I can kind of explain this kind of in a simple way, but with central inverters, those have power optimizers underneath them, which are strung together, but they have independent function. So that was the major benefit to microinverters back in the day, is that they had an advantage on string inverter systems because each panel would function independently of the next one if a cloud covered one end or if it was shaded or you name it. Now they all function independently no matter how they swing. So with string inverter systems, those are really only designed for very large scale, like municipal utility scale projects, just for a cost basis, where you don't need to worry about every single panel being performative. We do those for large scales and like schools and stuff, but for any residential house, that wouldn't be something we do. Yeah.
Is hail damage something that these panels would have to be, would that require an insurance rider or something?
Sure. So you don't need to. I didn't do it on mine. Every insurance company is different though. Sometimes it's baked into an umbrella policy. People have told me that it might add $100 a year on your policy just to add your solar system to it. Not something that's necessary. The system and the panels, they're tempered glass. They're really meant to last. They're UL listed, tested, certified. In the 9 years or so we've been doing this, we've never actually had a hail problem from solar. And we're only in Michigan, so we've seen a lot of weather. But yeah, that's not a common thing that we see a lot of.
We go. Does it transfer with a home sale?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we've had a handful of people that have just moved on to the next house, and basically because we're monitoring your system, that next homeowner would just have access to the monitoring of the solar system, and we make sure that they know how to work the app and everything.
Except you need a new interconnection agreement for the purchaser. It's not going to just start up for the next person.
Thank you. Yeah.
Can you actually have you come out and take it and put it on your home?
You can technically take your system with you. It's yours, right? That's what we do. We make it so it's a purchased order. It's not something that's leased. You know, it's not something the contractor owns at the end of the day. It's you guys owning it. And that's why we like doing these types of programs, because then you're actually eligible to claim the tax credit. And that's been a lot of the stipulation with some folks is that, you know, if the solar contractor, or if it's a PPA or a third party agreement, the leaser is the one who claims the tax credit, not the homeowner. So we want to make sure you guys can take full advantage of that. And so, but yes, technically you can take the system with you if you want.
Got a question in the back, and we are at 8 o'clock, so thank you for staying after. It's been great.
Yeah.
So ground mount systems, do you sell systems that will track the sun?
We do fixed tilt for the most part. We've done a couple. We've done a couple that have like crank systems where you can manually do it. A lot of the O&M on that, the operating and maintenance cost on that is a little bit more costly than it's worth in the long run. So fixed tilt is really the best bang for your buck. But technically you can do them. We don't recommend them. You know, in Michigan, 30 degrees is about the perfect tilt for longitude, latitude. So we've done the studies on that and figured out that having that good pitch is ideal for, you know, all year round.
All right, I just want to follow it from left to right.
I got you. No, I understand. Yeah, we don't do that just because of the added costs and the little bit of solar gain you may get from that isn't really worth the added expense. It would take a lot more years for your system to pay for itself.
One more, I'm a licensed master. Can I buy the parts from you and install myself?
No. Yeah. But if you're looking for a job, you know, I'll give you my business card. We're clearly going to be needing to hire, so you're more than welcome. We need more electricians like you. And like Marshall said, it's a, you know, I don't want to keep you guys all night. If you guys have specific questions for like your house and your system, happy to take those and field those. I can, you know, take a call. Numbers here, my email's there, website. If you want to get a quote, like I said, we have a form that's been kind of working around, and we'll send you an email. Just send us a utility bill, and we're happy to start navigating it.
Oh, so maybe I can make 1.2.
Yeah,
that if I understand it right. So, the insurance cost, yep, mine was about $100. That's all the insurance company would want to know, but it's hard, it's trivial impact. Didn't have it. I've had a few hailstorms, no issues. I've been surprised what's hit those things and not broken them, but tempered glass help explained it. The other part is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my property taxes also did not, and I don't know if they can go up on the basis of having installed solar. It's not included. It might be when you sell the house, but that's not your problem, right? So.
Yeah, I can touch on that, but that is correct. Yeah, so your property taxes do not, legally, they cannot go up for having solar on it. And although it becomes an asset on your home, that ends up being when you go to sell it, the next homeowner will take on that. But for you guys, that's just a benefit. It helps raise the home's value, and it's a win-win. We got one more, I think, in the back.
Yeah, trying to not make this uncomfortable.
Oh, no worries.
I'm glad we're back on the legal area. So we're talking about the Reduction Act, and you guys said it was 15% off, right? Well, unfortunately, in Prop 2020, I don't know. 25 proposal. Okay, cool. So in Project 2025 proposal, it says he will repeal it on page 696, that he will repeal the Inflation Reduction Act. So hypothetically, let's say I order this today, 3 months, you install it, right? Kicks in, and all of a sudden you decide, as we all know, and wake up, watch the news a little bit, a couple orders pop off in like July, right? That's no longer valid and gone, right? So is that still going to be honored, like a 15% off of it, or is that like kind of boned?
The Solarize discount has no implication there. So you're going to receive that discount no matter what happens in that regard.
And then for the 30%, the IRA, it's already baked in for 2025. The congressional budget is to 2026. So they've come a long way. We're operating at the law stands. And I understand there's a rogue administration doing a lot of things. I've been told, I've been on a lot of calls. I was on a national call today. There's a lot of red states that are working to defend the IRA. And so it takes an act of Congress to undo an act of Congress. Okay, so.
Yeah, it shouldn't go away for it. So
lock it in earlier.
All right, well, I think we're wrapping up here. We touched on that last piece there. So thank you everyone so much for coming. Great event.
No, I have solar panels. It's first time they've come a long way in 7 years. This is a